You're watching This Week in Louisiana Politics with Fred Childers.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. On Tuesday, Governor John Bel Edwards announced many of our remaining COVID-19 restrictions are lifted. Abby Rocha tells us why the governor says he made this decision and why the month of April is critical in our fight against COVID-19.
Governor John Bel Edwards says that this next move is possible because of the state's progress in the fight against COVID-19.
Today marks a big step forward.
Tuesday, Edwards announced a major step toward normalcy. Capacity and serving limitations for most businesses will be lifted on Wednesday.
But we're all going to have a role to play, and do have a role to play in making sure that cases don't spike again.
With looser restrictions in place, Edwards is focusing on three things: masks, vaccines, and distancing.
It's how we're going to be able to take off our masks, get back to more normal, but it depends on getting shots in people's arms.
More than 300,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine are on their way to Louisiana.
There will be ample opportunity for people to be vaccinated.
Edwards says he needs Louisiana to get their shots now, not later.
I, quite frankly, don't know what folks are waiting for. This pandemic only stops when enough people get vaccinated.
Edwards says whether or not we choose to get the vaccine will determine if we continue to make progress. At the state capitol, Abby Rocha, NBC Local 33 News.
Bars will now be allowed to serve their customers with no restrictions on the number of people allowed inside. Now, the governor is also getting rid of the mandatory 11 p.m. closing time, meaning that bars and restaurants can sell alcohol until 2 a.m. in most parishes. Masks and social distancing are still required. Bar owners we spoke to say they're happy to serve more customers indoors.
We made 70% of our income from 11 to 2 a.m. Bills don't stop, our rent doesn't stop.
And one restriction that remains is that people under 21 years old cannot be served at bars. In a statement sent to our newsroom, the Louisiana Restaurant Association says the loosened restrictions are an important step toward some sense of normalcy for restaurants and bars in our area. And Congressman Steve Scalise is weighing in on the announcement, saying he wants Louisiana to fully reopen. Scalise toured MMI Culinary in Kenner, one of the many businesses that survived this pandemic because of the Paycheck Protection Program. Scalise says Louisiana can learn from other states that have fully reopened.
You've seen some states go further, and frankly, if you look next door in a state like Texas, where they've opened up a lot earlier than most states in the nation, they're actually experiencing a lower spread rate of COVID than a state like California, who's still very strongly locked down. And so I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned.
The congressman also says he will be getting his COVID-19 vaccine very soon. LSU football head coach Ed Orgeron is expected to be next in line to testify before a Senate committee. This comes after new allegations from a grandmother that says she was sexually harassed by one of his players. Kennedy Walker breaks down the story.
Louisiana lawmakers are demanding answers from LSU's Coach O.
We want to find out why wasn't any action taken.
Questions were raised about whether Orgeron lied to investigators over LSU's handling of sexual misconduct reports. Gloria Scott, a Mercedes-Benz Superdome employee, says former LSU football star Darius Geis sexually harassed her and that Coach O later asked her to forgive Geis. The great-grandmother still traumatized by the alleged 2017 incident.
I think about it all the time. I can still see him standing in front of me and saying horrible things to me.
The coach says he never spoke to Scott, but Senator Regina Barrow doesn't believe him.
This, in my opinion, was epic failure all the way around. When a complaint, when a situation of that magnitude was brought to their attention, no action wasn't taken.
Senator Beth Mizell says it's time for someone to be held accountable, and she only wants one thing:
to prevent what's taken place to continue taking place.
Ogeron hasn't responded to the request yet. He could say no, but the Senate committee has the power to subpoena him.
That is not going to be good. It's not going to be good for him. It's not going to be good for the university.
LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward is also expected to attend the next hearing on Thursday, April 8th.
Ogeron has until Tuesday to reply to that request. Of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on air and online at brproud.com. Construction River diversion is underway, but people are not happy with the timeline for its completion. Jonah Gilmore has details on this long-awaited project.
It is not complicated. It's a ditch.
Time is ticking as crews work to complete the Comeet River diversion.
We are working as expeditiously as possible.
Construction of the 12-mile-long channel started in 2020.
But you drive up Highway 61 right there, you'll see the cranes in the air. You drive over by Highway 19, you'll see the cleared 500-foot width of the channel footprints.
The Army Corps of Engineers say the $350 million project is getting over another setback.
We're now moving forward with the real estate acquisition. The number of parcels has increased, I believe, from 50 parcels to around 80. Over 60 different utilities that have to be relocated. So all of that is kind of combined into seeing the schedule that we're seeing now.
The end date on this project has been delayed, and people say they are frustrated with the pace.
This idea of a sliding schedule that they live with and just put another year on us is maddening.
Bobby Burns is one of many residents along the river who lost their home during the 2016 flood.
The most painful thing I've ever done in my life was in August of 16 when I had to gut the house I lived in for 44 years.
He says he understands the process, but fears recent weather and enduring another hurricane season could end badly.
We want to get some protection. It'd be such a relief to know that our house might not flood again, because it's just a horrible thought.
The project is expected to finish in December 2022, and the Army Corps of Engineers is confident with that time frame. Coming up, a group of GOP senators headed to the U.S.-Mexico border last weekend for oversight of the surge of migrants. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy was there when journalists were not allowed inside the detention center. My interview with him next on This Week in Louisiana Politics. Welcome back to This Week in Louisiana Politics. Well, the surge of migrants at the U.S.-Mexican border has created a bit of a flashpoint over the last several days, and it's created a very large political divide, especially down at Capitol Hill in D.C. Republicans are calling this a crisis on the border, and they say it's a crisis of President Biden's own making. Biden and fellow Democrats have pushed back, saying that it's under control. Well, a group of Republican U.S. senators have traveled to the border. Senator John Kennedy was one of them. He joins us now via Zoom. First of all, thank you for coming on the show, Senator.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks for having me, my friend.
You bet. Well, you just recently traveled down to the border with that group of GOP senators. Tell us what you observed with your own eyes.
Well, President Biden says we can't call it a crisis, so how about a Category 5 hurricane? I'm not sure there are words in English to describe what we saw, Fred. Thousands of people flooding in. The border's 1,900 miles long, and this 150-mile stretch where we were, in that stretch alone, about 3,000 people a day are being allowed into our country. That's about 1 million to 2 million a year. What's happened is no mystery. In the last 4 years, the Trump administration and the Republican Congress had secured the border. We were called racist for doing it, but we pressed on, and President Biden inherited the most secure border that we've had in my lifetime. And then on his first day in office, he undid all of the practices that we had implemented to secure the border. And on top of it, he issued a moratorium on deporting people. Now, as I've said before, unless you've been in lockdown too long, one or two things are going on here. Either President Biden believes in open borders, or the people he's put in charge of immigration policy, they may be smart, but they don't have any sense. They don't have the sense God gave a goose. I mean, people are just, here's the new rule. Almost anyone who is caught is allowed in, and almost everyone who's allowed in will never be deported. This is dangerous. We don't know who's coming in. 55 different nationalities so far have been counted. It's dangerous. It's expensive. Many of the folks coming in are going to join welfare. It puts downward pressure on wages, and it unreservedly undermines legal immigration. We welcome about 1 million people a year to come to our country legally. Why would anyone want to wait in line and follow the rules if all they have to do is go to our southern border and the president just waves them through?
So, Senator, I'm interested in media access as well, especially initially. Did you see, when you were down there, did you see journalists denied access to the facility?
Oh, yes. President Biden has issued orders that no media be allowed in. He could not stop us from going in. By us, I mean the 19 senators who went down there. Now, while we were in one of the facilities where they have all the kids in cages and in close quarters, COVID notwithstanding, one of the folks from President Biden's office in Washington came up to us and said, "You can't film this. You can't take photographs." And we said, call somebody who cares, because we are going to film this and we are going to take photographs. American people need to see this. We're a separate branch of government. So they're trying to keep the American people from seeing what's going on. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think I know the video you're talking about. Is that the video from Senator Ted Cruz of Texas?
Yes. She and others came up to all of us and said, "You can't video this."
So this was, I guess, what you would call a viral video. I'm not sure if it's viral, but we saw the video, and I think she was telling him to have respect and dignity, or asking him to respect the dignity and privacy of those people. She also, I think at one point, said, "This is not a zoo, sir." What's your reaction to that?
Well, the way that President Biden and his people have housed these folks, it's like a zoo. I mean, they're the ones who are treating these folks inhumanely. And you did not need to be clairvoyant to see that this was going to happen. I mean, for 4 years, President Biden and my Democratic friends said, if you're against, or if you're for controlling the border, you're a racist. And we pressed on anyway and put in secure practices. And then President Biden just revoked them the first day. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. People are just coming in droves, and they're being allowed into the country. And I'm going to say it again. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's very expensive. It's very unfair to the people coming. It's unfair to people who want to come here legally, and it's going to wreak havoc on our economy.
What do you say to President Biden's comment that when he said that he would commit to transparency once his policies were in place? What do you take that to mean?
I don't think President Biden knows what's going on. If he's able, he needs to come down and take a look. So far, he's refused. Same for the Vice President Harris. But I will tell you, if you talk, I bet I talked, Fred, to 25, 50 Border Patrol agents. Every single one will tell you, we can fix this crisis. All we got to do is go back to doing what we were doing in December. They've got to start construction of the wall again. They've got to re-implement the Safe Third Country agreements, the Remain in Mexico programs. You either believe in legal immigration or you don't. Legal immigration is legal. The American people support it. Illegal immigration is supposed to be illegal. Duh. But the Biden administration makes no distinction. I've never seen anything like it. And he's tried to hide it from the American people by keeping the press out.
You've actually filed some legislation concerning immigration. I wanted to ask you about the Terrorist Deportation Act. What is that? What does it do?
Yes, I filed 4 bills. The press has ignored the other aspect of the Biden immigration policy, where he's not going to deport anybody. And I filed a bill to require anyone on the terrorist watch list who gets in to be deported, to require gang members to be deported. They're coming in as well. To require people who are in our country illegally and commit a felony or 2 misdemeanors, they have to be automatically deported. And I've also filed a bill to try to shut down these sanctuary cities like San Francisco and New York and Chicago and frankly, New Orleans, where if folks are in our country illegally and they make it to one of these sanctuary cities, the mayors of those cities instruct law enforcement not to cooperate with federal officials in terms of making people comply with the law.
All right, Senator John.
I don't know if I'll pass the bills. If my Democratic friends vote for it, at the rate he's going, President Biden will probably veto it. But I think he just believes in open borders. And if he does, it would be more honest intellectually if the president would just say so.
All right. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on your legislation and the situation down there on the border as well. Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Fred.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more This Week in Louisiana Politics.
This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Louisiana lawmakers will return to the state capitol next month with Capitol Hill on their minds. Harrison Gold explains the proposal that could change how we elect our Congress members.
Welcome to the jungle.
It's really steeped in Louisiana history.
For years, Louisiana's so-called jungle primaries have put hope from home if more than that's wrong.
When they're disadvantaged for
a task force that this Democrat them as other states to prepare for the job by January.
Especially the jockeying for committee positions, which is really important for a member's ability to be effective day one representing their district.
It's about representing all of Louisiana.
But critics worry closing primaries by parties would breed partisanship.
It's a policy that will definitely make our state more likely to have representation that doesn't look like us.
Let's continue working as Louisianans to elect the best people. And in an open primary, that's the fairest way.
The task force's recommendations would not apply to city, parish, or state government races.
All kinds of races.
Though political spectators wonder if more primary closures could soon come.
I can definitely see that be, extended to other non-federal races as well. I mean, if I'm a Republican, especially after that 2015 gubernatorial race, I would want some type of reform.
That's all up to state lawmakers who reconvene April 12th.
Louisiana most recently had closed party primaries for the 2008 and 2010 congressional races before lawmakers reopened them in 2012. One candidate in the runoff for Louisiana's 2nd congressional district has now picked up a key endorsement in next month's election. This week, Gary Chambers officially endorsed New Orleans Democrat Karen Carter Peterson. Chambers finished just 2 percentage points behind Peterson in the primary last weekend. Peterson will go head-to-head with fellow New Orleans Democrat Troy Carter for the seat on April 24th. We'll, of course, bring you updates to that race. Up next, we'll have a look at the week ahead on your local election headquarters. Stay with us.
This is your local election headquarters.
If you like to gamble, listen up. State lawmakers are set to debate the guidelines for the sports betting in Louisiana. Voters in almost all of the state's parishes voted to legalize sports betting last November. Now lawmakers will vote on the parameters this legislative session. Senate President Page Cortez will sponsor the bill setting up the rules. He says the state could see anywhere from $10 million to $20 million a year from taxes on sports betting. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics. I'm Fred Childers. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you next Sunday right here on your local election headquarters.